Throughout 2 decades, any movie featuring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson represented a near-certain financial victory for studios, reliably drawing massive worldwide audiences. But one film changed everything. Black Adam didn't just underperform, it revealed a fatal crack in the foundation of his entire brand. This is the story of how a single $200 million gamble transformed The Rock from an automatic asset into a glaring liability. So, where did the fatal crack begin? Not with a stunt or a special effect. It began with a mindset. A single, revealing phrase that would come to define the entire costly miscalculation. To understand the liability, you must first understand the mentality that created it. This is Chapter 1, the hierarchy of power mentality. The crack began with a phrase, a public mission statement. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. For the audience, it was a thrilling tagline. For Warner Brothers and DC, it was a declaration of war. It wasn't about the character Black Adam challenging Superman. It was about Dwayne Johnson challenging the entire DC system. This line wasn't scripted fiction. It was a corporate strategy, spoken aloud. Black Adam was never conceived as just a movie. It was engineered as a hostile takeover bid. Johnson and his team at $7 Productions didn't just want to introduce an anti-hero. They aimed to pivot the entire struggling DC extended universe around their new asset, him. This was the core miscalculation. He misread his brand power as creative and strategic authority over a billion-dollar intellectual property library he did not own. Contrast this with the playbook of the only star to ever successfully anchor a universe, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Downey's genius was integration. He became the charismatic, indispensable core of a collaborative system. He boosted others. He made the universe around him stronger. His power grew because the franchise did. Johnson's approach was the opposite. It was extraction and dominance. Reports swirled of his team demanding Black Adam be kept separate from the Shazam franchise, of which the character is the arch-nemesis. This wasn't narrative logic, it was brand segregation. The goal was to avoid sharing the spotlight, to prevent his shiny new asset from being diminished by association with a less successful series. It was franchise building not as teamwork, but as zero-sum empire. The mentality poisoned the well. Instead of entering the DC universe as a powerful new player, he positioned himself as its replacement CEO. This alienated the very executives and creative partners whose buy-in was essential for long-term success. You cannot launch a shared universe by publicly announcing you plan to dismantle the existing power structure. It creates resentment, not collaboration. This hierarchy of power mentality bled into every aspect. The film's story reflected it. Black Adam isn't shaped by the world he enters. He immediately dominates and reshapes it to his will. The marketing reflected it. The narrative was never "discover Black Adam," it was "bow to Black Adam." The star's personal brand strategy was the character's motivation. It was a catastrophic misreading of the landscape. The DC universe was a wounded, fragile ecosystem in need of a unifier, not a conqueror. Johnson didn't offer to be a healer. He offered to be a king. And in doing so, he guaranteed that the existing court, the studio, the executives, the other franchise strands, would have no stake in his success. His victory would have to be total, solo, and overwhelming. He didn't just want a hit movie, he wanted a coronation. And that prideful, singular focus on changing the hierarchy blinded him to the first rule of franchise building. You must serve the universe before it can serve you. This foundational error set the stage for every failure that followed. It turned potential allies into wary observers, and a box office battle into a referendum on one man's ability to command an industry by sheer force of will. It was the first and most profound step toward liability. Because when you declare yourself the new power, You alone bear the blame when that power fails to materialize. The fallout would be measured in the coldest currency Hollywood knows: lost dollars. And the bill was about to come due. The financial exposure, the unit economics trap in broad daylight. The final numbers were a public autopsy, and they exposed everything. Black Adam grossed $393 million globally, a colossal sum by any normal measure. But here it was a flashing red alarm. The film's reported cost was a stratospheric $260 million to produce. Its worldwide marketing campaign blasted another $150 million into the ecosystem. Total outlay? A staggering $410 million. Now, the brutal reality of studio math. A studio doesn't keep the full ticket price. They receive roughly 50% of domestic earnings, and only 40% from international markets. Apply that to the $393 million gross. Warner Brothers' actual revenue share was only about $190 million. They spent $410 million to earn $190 million. The net loss was catastrophic, well over $200 million. This was not an anomaly. It was the inevitable product of the Rock economic model, a model Black Adam laid bare for the entire industry to see. His deal structure creates an impossible financial equation. His upfront salary is among the highest in Hollywood. His $7 Productions commands a massive producing fee. His contract demands a global, top-tier marketing spend. These are fixed costs. They are non-negotiable. They create a terrifying break-even point. For Black Adam, it wasn't $400 million. It was over $600 million. His movies must perform at near Avengers levels just to reach zero. There is no room for a modest hit. No allowance for a solid performance. It is binary. Historic billion-dollar bonanza or crippling nine-figure loss. Black Adam proved the latter was not just possible, but probable. It transformed his financial blueprint from a theoretical boardroom concern into a headline-making cautionary tale. It provided every rival studio and nervous financier with a concrete, disastrous data point. The risk was no longer abstract. It had a price tag, $200 million down the drain. It proved his star power could generate immense revenue, but his business model could incinerate it faster. The asset's value was now permanently questioned by a single, undeniable balance sheet. The liability was quantified. The brand damage, when invincibility becomes a weakness. For 2 decades, Dwayne Johnson's most bankable asset wasn't his physique or his smile. It was an aura of invincibility, not just on screen, but in the marketplace. His brand promised more than a movie. It promised a victory, a guaranteed return. Black Adam didn't just lose money. It shattered that aura. It broke the promise. The collapse was stark because his effort was so visible. He launched the most relentless promotional campaign of his career. Gym videos framed as battle prep. Social media posts declaring a new era. He was the hardest worker in the room, and he showed you every drop of sweat. This was the culmination of his personal brand machinery, operating at maximum power. And it didn't work. The audience response was a muted shrug. The grand opening weekend was strong, fueled by his core fans. Then it plummeted. The narrative in the industry press shifted overnight. The story was no longer The Rock's DC takeover. It was The Rock's costly flop. His personal energy, the very fuel of his brand, could not overcome the film's financial gravity or creative inertia. This was the true damage. It demonstrated a limit. For the first time, his willpower and his marketing machine were not enough to command success. The brand pillar of guaranteed hit crumbled. It proved that the product itself, the movie, still matters, that no amount of personal charisma can sell a flawed proposition forever. The invincibility was a myth, and once that myth is broken, Every future project is viewed through a new lens, not as a sure thing, but as a question. The liability was now cemented in perception. The unbeatable had been beaten. The creative revelation, the limits of control. Black Adam did more than fail financially. It failed creatively, and in doing so, it revealed the artistic dead end of absolute brand management. The film was criticized as generic, formulaic, and soulless. But this wasn't an accident. It was the direct result of the creative control blackout. Every creative decision was filtered through one mandate: protect the invincible Rock persona. This meant no meaningful vulnerability, no lasting consequences, no narrative risks that could tarnish the icon. The story became a predictable procession of Johnson's character demonstrating dominance. The villains were props, not threats. The stakes felt false because the outcome was never in doubt. The screenplay wasn't a story, it was a brand safety protocol. The criticism was universal. Critics panned its lack of originality and emotional weight. Audiences felt the emptiness. They saw a shiny, expensive product, not a compelling story. Black Adam proved that total creative control, when exercised solely to service a personal brand, yields a hollow product. It showcased the limits of a model where the star's image is more important than the film's soul. The result was creative bankruptcy. The film had nothing new to say. It offered only a repetitive, brand-approved spectacle. This rejection was crucial. It showed that audiences can sense when a movie is a corporate exercise. They can feel the lack of authentic creative vision. Johnson's need to control every aspect to protect his image strangled the very creativity that makes a film resonate. He didn't just lose the box office. He lost the audience's belief in the product itself. The liability was now artistic as well. The ripple effect, scorched earth, and lost trust. The fallout from Black Adam was never contained to a single balance sheet. The shockwaves were strategic, professional, and permanent. The film didn't just lose money. It torched trust and scorched the earth for future deals. First, it vaporized his DC universe. The planned showdown with Henry Cavill's Superman was dead within weeks. The entire DC slate was scrapped for a reboot. Johnson's grand hierarchy of power shift resulted in total architectural collapse. His partnership with Warner Brothers, once a golden alliance, was now a case study in dysfunction. More importantly, it changed his industry reputation. Overnight, he became a cautionary tale whispered in boardrooms. The phrase, "Remember Black Adam," became shorthand for the catastrophic risk of a star-led, control-heavy mega-budget gamble. Studio executives, once eager to pay his premium, now had a concrete $200 million reason to hesitate. The pitch for his next project wasn't just about its story, it was about managing the risk of him. He transitioned from a reliable franchise player to a potential franchise destroyer. The liability was no longer just financial, it was relational. He had shown a willingness to place his brand above the health of a studio's most valuable IP. Who would confidently hand him the keys to their next universe? The trust required for such partnerships was fractured. The film's failure created a ripple of hesitation that would touch every future negotiation, making him a more difficult, more expensive, and riskier proposition than ever before. The damage was now systemic. Liability, not legend, the new calculus. Black Adam was more than a flop. It was a diagnostic, a $200 million stress test of the Dwayne Johnson brand model. Every result came back negative. The film exposed a fatal sequence. It began with a miscalculation of power, the belief that his star could commandeer an entire studio's franchise. This led to a financial expose, concrete proof his economic model is unsustainable. It triggered brand damage, shattering the aura of invincibility he'd sold for 20 years. It revealed creative bankruptcy, showing absolute control yields hollow product. It culminated in a crisis of trust, burning bridges and making him a cautionary tale. The conclusion is inescapable. Dwayne Johnson is no longer an automatic asset. He is a calculated, high-risk liability. The liability isn't in his work ethic or his charisma. It's in the ecosystem his stardom demands. The prohibitive costs, the rigid creative control, the brand-first storytelling. Black Adam proved this ecosystem can fail catastrophically. His price tag has permanently changed. The cost is no longer just his salary. It's the risk of another seismic write-down. It's the risk of another scorched earth partnership. It's the risk of further brand erosion. Studios no longer see just The Rock. They see the ghost of Black Adam hovering behind him. They see the liability. One film transformed the legend into a warning. The hierarchy of power didn't change in the DC universe. It changed in Hollywood. And Dwayne Johnson, for the first time, finds himself on the lower tier.